Imagine you wake up tomorrow morning. You turn on your tap. Nothing comes out. You walk outside. The fountains on the strip have gone silent. The hotel pools are roped off. The casinos are dark. And the emergency alert on your phone says three simple words: water supply failed. Now imagine that moment isn't a nightmare. Imagine it nearly happened. For real. To 3 million people. In the middle of the desert. Because right now, underneath Las Vegas, underneath the lights, the crowds, the slot machines, there is a machine running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A tunnel, 3 miles long, drilled through solid volcanic rock, 600 feet beneath a dying lake. And if that machine ever stops, Las Vegas has 36 hours of water left. That is not a metaphor. That is not an exaggeration. That is the actual number. So here is the question this video is going to answer. How is Las Vegas, a city in the middle of the driest desert in North America, with almost no rain, no river of its own, and a shrinking water supply, still alive? Stay with me, because the answer is one of the most extraordinary engineering stories you have never been told. Las Vegas sits in the Mojave Desert, just 4 inches of rain a year, summer temperatures that hit 117 degrees Fahrenheit, soil so dry it cracks open in the heat, and yet somehow this became one of the most visited cities on Earth. But here is what the travel ads never show you. Las Vegas does not have its own water. It never did. Every single drop this city uses has to be engineered in, fought for, and managed down to the last gallon. It all comes from one place, Lake Mead, a massive reservoir created by the Hoover Dam, sitting 30 miles away in the desert. And Lake Mead is disappearing, not slowly, not gently. Since the year 2000, the water level has dropped by 160 feet. That is the height of a 16-story building. Gone. In just 2 decades. If you have seen the satellite images, you already know what that looks like. Entire coves that were underwater since the 1950s, now dry land again. Ghost beaches, exposed rock, and a white chalk ring carved into the canyon walls around the entire lake. People call it the bathtub ring. At its peak, it stretched 180 feet above the waterline. A permanent scar in the rock, marking every foot of water the American West has lost. Right now, that reservoir sits at roughly 30% of its total capacity, and federal scientists recently made a projection that stopped a lot of people cold. By late 2027, Lake Mead could hit the lowest water level ever recorded in its entire history. Lower than 2022, the year the receding water began uncovering human remains that had been underwater for decades. So a city of 3 million people, 40 million tourists a year, hundreds of thousands of hotel rooms, 24-hour casinos with fountains shooting water 240 feet into the air, all of it dependent on a single reservoir that is nearly 1/3 empty and still dropping. That sounds like a city that should have already collapsed. So why hasn't it? Before we get to the solution, you need to understand how deep this problem actually goes. Because this crisis was set in motion over 100 years ago, and it started with a mistake. In 1922, government officials from 7 American states sat down and divided the Colorado River between them. They measured the river's flow, they ran the numbers, and they signed the Colorado River Compact, a legal agreement that still governs who gets what water to this very day. Here's the problem no one talks about. The year they took their measurements happened to be one of the wettest years in recorded history. Researchers later confirmed that those measurements were taken during what was probably the wettest 30-year period in the American Southwest in the past 5 to 12 centuries, which means the entire American Southwest, California, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Colorado built cities, farms, and industries around water that mathematically never really existed. 40 million people, 5 million acres of farmland, all powered by a river that was always overbooked. And now climate change is making everything worse. The Colorado River today carries roughly 20% less water than it did a century ago. Scientists call this aridification. And unlike a drought, it does not reverse. The river is permanently shrinking. Nevada, home to Las Vegas, was given the smallest share of anyone, just 4% of the lower river's total water. California gets 14 times more. Arizona gets 4 times more. Las Vegas, with all those hotels, all those tourists, all that neon, gets 4% of a disappearing river. That is the crisis. That is what this city is truly up against. And now you are ready to understand the solution. In 2008, engineers began drilling through the bottom of a dying lake. Not a small tunnel, a 3-mile-long, 23-foot-wide concrete tube bored through solid volcanic rock, 600 feet beneath the surface of Lake Mead. They called it the third straw, because it was the city's third and deepest water intake. A last resort. A survival pipe designed to pull water even if the lake dropped to levels no one had ever thought possible. The cost was $1.5 billion. They gave themselves 5 years. It took 7, because halfway through construction, the tunnel boring machine, a piece of equipment the size of a submarine, broke down, trapped underground, surrounded by solid rock, with groundwater flooding the shaft around it. Engineers spent months figuring out how to rescue a machine the size of a submarine from inside a mountain, under a dying lake, on a deadline that meant the survival of a major American city. They fixed it, barely. The third straw opened in 2015, and not a moment too soon. Because by 2022, Lake Mead had dropped so low that the city's original intake pipes were on the verge of sitting above the waterline entirely. Useless. Dry. The third straw was the only thing between Las Vegas and a genuine water emergency. But here is the twist almost no one tells you about. The tunnel was not the real miracle. The real miracle is what Las Vegas built before anyone started panicking. Because while the rest of the country pictures Las Vegas as a city of waste, fountains in the desert, golf courses baking in the sun, luxury pools under a blazing sky, something completely different has quietly been happening underneath the surface. Las Vegas recycles nearly all of its indoor water. Every shower in every hotel room on the Strip, every toilet flush in every casino, every kitchen sink, every tap in every building in the city, all of it gets collected, sent to treatment plants, cleaned to some of the highest water quality standards in the country, and pumped back through a 12-mile channel called the Las Vegas Wash, directly back into Lake Mead. And every single gallon that goes back earns the city a return flow credit. 1 gallon returned equals 1 extra gallon the city is allowed to draw out again. The Southern Nevada Water Authority describes this with one phrase that has always stuck with me. Our indoor water use is a perpetual motion machine. Think about what that actually means. You could turn on every shower, every tap, every faucet in every hotel room on the entire Las Vegas Strip, all of them at the same time, and the city's total water consumption would not increase by a single gallon, because it all comes back. 200 million gallons of treated water return to Lake Mead every single day. That one system alone effectively increases Nevada's usable water supply by 85% beyond its legal allocation. Without it, Las Vegas, as you know it today, would be physically impossible. But there was still one problem left to solve. Outdoor water cannot be recycled. The water used to keep lawns green, medians manicured, and parking lots lined with decorative grass. That water evaporates into the desert air. It soaks into the ground. It cannot be sent back to Lake Mead. And for decades, it was quietly bleeding the city dry. 1 square foot of grass consumes 73 gallons of water per year, just to stay alive, just to look green, in a desert. So Las Vegas declared war on its own lawns. Since 1999, the city has been paying homeowners and businesses to rip out their grass and replace it with desert-adapted plants. The program has now converted over 247 million square feet of turf. It has saved 203 billion gallons of water since it began. Then in 2021, Nevada passed a law unlike anything ever attempted in the United States. It banned all decorative non-functional grass across the city, the strips of green along highways, the ornamental patches outside office buildings, the manicured medians in parking lots, grass that nobody walks on, grass that exists purely to look nice. All of it must be gone by 2027. That single law will save 9.5 billion gallons of water every single year. And here is the number that brings the entire story together. Since 2002, Las Vegas has reduced its per capita water use by 58%, not despite adding nearly 900,000 new residents to the city during that time. While adding them, more people, less water, every single year. So here is your answer. How is Las Vegas still alive? Not because it got lucky, not because the desert got kinder, not because the river got bigger. Because when this city looked at the problem, a dying lake, a shrinking river, 100-year-old legal agreement built on bad math, and a desert that was getting hotter every year, it did not wait for someone else to solve it. It drilled $1 billion tunnel through solid rock to reach water no other city could access. It built a recycling system so efficient that 200 million gallons of water make a round trip every single day. And it ripped up hundreds of millions of square feet of grass, one lawn at a time, across 25 years. That is the hidden system keeping Las Vegas alive. And here is what I want you to carry with you. We live in an age where the problems feel too large, too permanent, too deeply embedded to fix. The climate is changing. The rivers are shrinking. The old assumptions are breaking down. Las Vegas looked at every single one of those problems. In one of the most hostile places on Earth, and it engineered its way through. 600 feet beneath a dying lake, a machine is still running. The lights are still on. The fountains are still flowing. The city is still here, not through luck, through design,